Hello, my loves. This is an impromptu live where we're going to talk about the current energies, the current ascension energies. Um, so, if you're catching the replay, I am live in all the places. I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube, and I am on TikTok. So, if you are catching the replay on Facebook or YouTube, please hashtag it replay. Let me know that you were here and I will give you some love. If you're brand new to me, I am Johanna Burkhardt. I'm a multidimensional channel teacher and healer. And I'm really here to help you step into your self mastery, to help you manage your energy and create your optimal reality. And we can do that so many ways. What are my pronouns? I don't I don't even know how to answer that question. I don't label myself. I'm just me. Um, okay. So we're gonna kind of go a little bit all over the place today, per normal, quantum, right? All inclusive. And so I would love to hear how you guys are feeling. I just finished uh, literally like 10 minutes ago facilitating a energy transmission in my YouTube membership for those who are members to really support the body circuits. And I had no idea what we were going to do when I started doing this transmission. I had an idea, but I didn't have I just had this knowing that I needed to do this transmission. When I tell you it was the most peaceful, cleansing, healing transmission I have done all year, I can't even begin. It was magical and the energy was just perfect. It's one that you can only do that anyone who is a member or will become a member, you can only do it once a week because it's that potent and it's really bringing and widening and strengthening all of the body circuits to be able to hold and sustain higher frequencies and really help us with the shift because that applies to what I'm going to talk about today. That's what applies to the energy that we're currently experiencing. And as I've mentioned in many written posts, the energy really started to shift last month into um, actually even before last month. But I would say October is really when the shift began to happen, where we went into the physical part, right? There's 4 stages of an awakening, and we do go through many micro. Um, we go through that on a micro level many times, those 4 stages for the whole macro, right? But so the third stage is the body awakening. It's the physical aspect. And so I have mentioned, here we go with the light again. I had mentioned that this is when we're going to start to really see the shift. And years from now, we're going to look back and say, oh my God, we got to witness one of the biggest shifts in humanity that ever existed, that we've ever seen and ever experienced. And it's going to be the most beautiful thing. But while we're in it, while we're in the shift, while we're in the transition, it's not going to always feel comfortable. And so there's some people who are feeling absolutely nothing, and there's other people who are feeling a lot. There are some who are literally being burned down to the ground, hence today's reel and TikTok, stripped down to their bones, their life just having everything stripped from them. And there's other people who are starting to catapult. So everybody is going to be at a different space in the totality, right? So this is the totality, this is the whole. And it's not higher or less than, it's not right or wrong, you're not better than or less than. Everybody's just going to be at a different position in their ascension experience. Remember, it's a spiral. And so as it spirals, every single person is going to be at a different space. Not only that, but some people right now, and actually there's a lot of people right now who are backlogging these energies. The amount of frequencies that are coming in, that sustained frequencies, these are not, I'm not talking about the Schumann. I'm not talking about solar flares. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. Those are all side effects. When we go through the increases that I'm talking about, this is planetary sustainment, meaning, the Earth currently is in a 4th dimension. It has been since 2012. And we are moving towards the Earth living in a 5th dimensional frequency. And these aren't different locations, right? The frequencies are all overlaid on top of each other. It's just us being able to sustain living in a different frequency. And those frequencies are held together on a bandwidth known as a dimension, right? So it's important for you guys to kind of have that little bit of information and understanding to help you think, because a lot of people are thinking, oh, I'm going to go to 5D and leave behind 3D. No, they're all overlaid on top of each other. It's a frequency that you sustain. And so as we go into this physical awakening, as we go into the physical shift where we start to have the big deep changes in our body, the deep changes in our physical reality and in the collective reality, this is where we start to break down our structure, rebuild our structure, and be able to sustain higher frequencies in our body. Sustain. That's how you manifest. If you want to manifest something, you have to be able to sustain the frequency that that manifestation lives on, right? So it's no different when we move into these higher frequencies. We don't notice the big shifts until we're able to sustain it. And this is why a lot of people are right where the earth is in the fourth dimensional frequency, because the fourth dimension is walking the line between experiencing the higher frequencies of unity, of love, of oneness, of totality. Remember, love is not the absence of pain. Love is not the absence of anger. It's not the absence of any emotion. It's all inclusive. It's all of the emotions. So, and we just don't have a judgment of it. That's what goes away. When you are in a fifth dimensional frequency, when you are in your heart, there's no judgment. You understand that everything is happening for you. It's just an experience. It's a feeling. You're not judging it. That is the difference, the biggest difference between frequencies. So you go back and forth between being in judgment, putting a label on something, letting something mean something, and not having a judgment of it and just living in observation of it. That's the difference. That's the biggest, simplest way of saying that difference. So some people are not wanting to feel. They're sensing all of the incoming energies. And a lot of times, this is what the guides call anxiety, right? When there's an abundance of energy that you are making about you. You think there's something for you to do. It's because of you. It's because of something you did. That's what anxiety is. It turns the energy that you're sensing around you and points it right at you. And you think, oh, it's me. Something's wrong with me. Something's happening to me. Something needs to change in me. I changed my setup on my big computer so that the light, and we're gonna have to play with it. Um, so some people are sensing all of this energy and they're choosing to let it backlog. And so they're not really feeling anything. They're kind of shut down from it, or they might have things going wrong in their life or things going good in their life, but they're really not allowing it to come in. And they're not even, a lot of them are not even aware that that's what they're doing. And the energy backlogs. We don't want it to backlog too much, because that's when we can have what we call tower moments in tarot, right? Where things break, where things collapse and they can be more suffering and more pain. We don't want that to happen. We don't want that to happen. And so the goal is to really allow the energy, really allow things to happen, surrender to it. And that's what a lot of what today's transmission was about, was helping with the physical body to allow that to happen, so that the energy can flow and really catapult you to where you need to go, to your highest potential, to the path of what you are asking for, right? Oftentimes we're asking for things. We're saying, God, help us. I want to manifest this. I want to manifest that. But then we have that belief or that desire, and then we turn around and do an action or say something that is the opposite of that. And so that sends mixed signals, because the universe consciousness is just a genie in a bottle. The way that you act and speak and behave, or whatever, the beliefs you hold behind closed doors when nobody's watching, that's the most potent time there is, because you're always going to put on a show, right? Not everybody, but a lot of people put on a show, act differently in front of other people. They feel they hold themselves more accountable. But when you're behind closed doors, when nobody's watching, the way that you speak to yourself, the way that you act, the way that you behave, the way that you eat, the way that you do anything, right? That is the most potent time, because that's when you are your most authentic. So how is it that you're doing that? Are you truly acting in a way that is who you want to be? I used to operate in one of my very first websites was Act As If. And a lot of people don't understand what that means. It means when you want to make a decision, when you're standing at the crossroads of indecision, when you're deciding what you want to do or what you want to be, or what, do I want to go right or left? Do I want to take this opportunity or that opportunity? Do I want to eat this or do I want to eat that? Do I want to play in this mindset or that mindset? The way that you end indecision is to say, which one is who I want to be? Which one is who I am or who I want to be? Hi, Billy Ann. And so it's important that we have that understanding when we're standing at a crossroads and when we're feeling these energies, when we're feeling these intensities. And we ask ourselves, right, if I choose this, is that a clear representation to the universe of who I am, of what I want to be? And if it's not, then you need to choose another, choose another way, choose another state of being. And if you fall in the hole, if you forget, you're not going to be conscious 100% of the time. You have grace, you have compassion for yourself, and you don't allow the shame and blame cycle to take place when you do things. Good morning, Salime, or afternoon. What time is it? It's 1. Okay. I have to not be on here for a long because I have a private mentor student that comes on. I have a session shortly after this. So I just wanted to come on and talk about the current energies. I'm saying that to myself to keep myself in check because when I start channeling, I time is irrelevant. It's just one of those things. So some people are allowing the energies to backlog and they're in resistance and they don't want to feel it and they're in separation where they're like, oh, that doesn't apply to me, or I'm not tuning into it, or, I'm not like you. And it's like, no, we're all the same. We're just at different levels of awareness of the energy. So you're either aware of the energy and how it's changing your life and how it's affecting your life and how it's contributing to your life, or you're not. But there is no separation from it. Zero. I don't care if you're the most unconscious person on the planet or the most conscious. There's zero separation. So the energies that are coming in are affecting you. It's a matter of whether you're conscious and aware of how it's affecting you, how it's helping you, how it's contributing, or how it's to your detriment. If you're not aware of it, that's okay. That's where you are. But if you are aware of it or you start to tune into it and use it to your advantage, it's going to help you. Someone said recently, it was probably on a TikTok I saw, and I really loved it. And someone said, and listen, I don't do astrology. The closest I do to astrology is human design, and that is more of an advanced body astrology. But they said millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. And it's because, and if you think the government is not have people on staff that are in tune with the energies, you're completely incorrect. This is actually a fact that you can go back and research and find, um, because they know how to utilize the energy, and what narratives to put out and which things to do, and that's been something that's been going on for a very long time. So again, we kind of derailed and went off on a tangent, unchanneled some stuff, but let's bring it back to the core energy here. And that is, this is the body awakening. This is the physical awakening. And so this is the beginning of the greatest shift that humanity will ever see. So that's going to be felt internally. It's going to be felt in your immediate reality. It's going to be seen, experienced in the collective. The collective is made up of the group consciousness. So you contribute, whether you believe it or not, you contribute, again, behind closed doors when nobody's watching, how you treat yourself, the things that you do, the things that you say, that is a contribution, a conscious contribution to the collective consciousness, and something for you to keep in mind. And so we really want you to start to support your body. We really want you to restructure who you are, who you want to be, to support the higher frequencies that we are moving into. There's going to be a lot of people who opt out of this game because the frequencies are becoming so high. When the frequency is high, like as I'm talking about these sustained frequencies, that is the amount of information or light that we can process per hour. And some people, it makes them think they're going crazy. It fries their brain, or they have poor energy management and they allow anxiety and fear to take over them. And as aspects of them begin to integrate, or what we would call ego death, um, they can take that as literal and choose to exit. So there's going to be a lot of crazy things that happen. And it's all soul's choice, right? There's nothing that we do that isn't at a soul's choice level. So just really keep that in mind as you start to witness things that happen in reality. Um, and so like I said, the energy is only going to continue. It has been a little bit more easy in the way that it's been spiking and the way that it's been going up. It hasn't been the way that it was in August and October, where it was like insane back to back giant spikes that were just ripping us to shreds. It's a little more gentler right now, thankfully, which is really good. But we have some energies this week that are really going to help where you're going to really start to experience that shift. So on Wednesday, we have the solstices. And the guides always say that the solstice is the most impactful energy of the entire um, they don't really go by year, but we're going to go by year because we're human. So every year when we have the two solstices, those are the most predominant, most potent, most transformative energies. Over Lionsgate, over any number portals, that all of those things are influenced by the collective belief system, believe it or not. Not that they don't have energetic importance, but it's more it's made more potent by the collective belief system. But the solstice is the real, true, biggest transformation. And because every solstice, the sun is basically going through a rebirth cycle. And if the sun is going through a rebirth cycle, it's activating our internal sun to go through a rebirth cycle. Again, I know Salime, you're in the YouTube membership. I just finished a transmission, again, helping purge and cleanse and strengthen the circulatory systems and your own internal sun to support the energy that we're going through. So when you have time to do that, you should check it out. Um, but it activates our own internal sun to go through a rebirth cycle as well. And so, compacted by that is the new moon that follows on Friday. And so, this new moon is in Capricorn, which is a very earth sign. It's a very structured sign. And um, it really feels in my body when I tune into it. It is the beginning of the new structure. So, it's all going to be these are, again, when we think about astrology, when we think about the things that happen, it really is a support. Okay, it's not the cause, it is a support. It's coming in to support the energies, to support the transformation. So the solstice is coming in. We're already feeling the solstice energy. I mean, a couple of days ago I really started feeling that solstice energy. And it begins the rebirth cycle inside of our central sun, which is our solar plexus. It's our sense of power. It's our sense of light, our well-being. Um, and then Friday, right, will already be tomorrow. We're already going to be in the new moon energy as well. So it's going to be a double whammy where this energy is really going to intensify and we're really going to feel it in our bodies. This is a super new moon. The reason why it's a super new moon is because it is really close to the earth. And so we feel its power more deeply. But the new moon is always about internal, right? It's going into the dark of you. It's going into your subconscious. It's going into that deep density inside of you, allowing you to really feel and sense and be. And something that they said they've channeled this many times, but in the transmission that I just did, they brought it up again in a way. When we're in our heart space, when we're turned into us, we are in our innocence. But the way that they said it was innocence as in our senses. We're not meant to be in the mental, logical understanding of what's happening because the brain will literally short circuit. It's not going to understand what's going on. It doesn't speak energetics. And so when you are truly looking within, you are relying on your senses. It's like being in the dark, right? When you're in the dark, you got to stop. You got to go slower. You got to be patient. You got to be present. You got to feel. You got to be in tune with your sensory. Like if you've ever gotten up in the middle of the night to pee in a dark place, right, with no light, if you go nice and slow and you sense and you are present, you can navigate without seeing anything. Your eyes will actually begin to adjust to allow you to see in the dark. That is the best analogy for this new moon and for any new moon, really. It's about seeing in the dark, using your owl energy, your omniscience, your ability to tune into all of your senses, to use yourself in totality, to use everything, right? When we talk about integration, and this is something that, all the things I do are about integration and being embodied. It is about having everything working in synergy. If you're not, the mind, the body, and the spirit have to work in synergy. And so, how they show that to me is the mind, the body, which is your true mind, right? Talking about your gut. It's like the bottom and the top. And the spirit is the center and it just flows fluidly. But if one of those is off, everything is off. And so your body is constantly, your energy is constantly trying to come into homeostasis. It's trying to have everything work. And so it's really important for you guys to have that kind of seed planted. So when you're in your heart space, you are in your senses. You're in innocence, in your senses. And this is why children are so in tune and, can speak any language, communicate with um, loved ones, with angels, with whatever. They're very in tune telepathically. Why? Because they're in innocence. Their mind is not fully programmed yet. They're still building their base foundational programs. So they're living from their innocence, meaning they are 100% in their senses. And it's just a beautiful analogy and understanding to help you remember that when we're being intuitively guided, when our guides are speaking to us, when our higher self is speaking to us, when we're in our heart space, oftentimes it makes no sense because it's in the sense, right? It makes no sense because we're trying to understand it, and that means that when we're trying to understand it, we're in our brain. That is the human part of us that can't do that. There can come understanding. There's nothing wrong with having understanding, but it's not necessary. You just have to be in the sense. You will actually understand more deeply and have a deeper knowing when you allow the energy to be felt and experienced, when you go into it. This is why when I always teach people how to read their body, how to communicate, how to go into it from a space of sensory versus label of emotion or when it happened, going through the story. All of that has its time and its place. But the power is being in the sense of it. It's being in it. That's where the power is. And so when the guides brought through in today's transmission in the membership, I was like, as I'm observing, because I'm always kind of a third party hanging out, listening to music in my head when I'm guiding. And I was listening to them and I was like, wow, I've heard this channeled many times before, but the way they did it this time was mind blowing because it really takes the mind out of it completely and allows us to understand that most of the stuff that comes through is from that quiet, large part of ourselves. Again, higher self, guides, whatever you want to call it. Those are all aspects of us anyway. It often doesn't make logical sense. It usually comes forth in incomplete sentences. It's usually very short and sweet, sometimes a little cryptic because, well, guides can be cheeky. They have humor. So they're breadcrumbs, right? They're not here to just give you every answer. They're here to give you a seed to get you to go a little bit further and figure it out for yourself. Because when you figure it out for yourself, this is when the magic happens. This is when the power happens. But when someone is constantly giving it to you through readings, and there's nothing wrong with readings, but some people get a little hooked and they have to have every answer through a reading, or every answer has to relate to astrology or whatever. When you're constantly utilizing all of those tools instead of your own senses, that is not, you're not invested. You're not invested. It's through the internal work that you're invested. And right now, it's taking a lot of internal work. And so if you're struggling, know that you're not alone. Listen, I am very in tune. I channel, I speak with my guides. I'm constantly in dialogue, and I can tell you I'm still having a human experience just like the rest of you, um, because I have to learn the same way everybody else does. And so I've had to be so patient and present with myself and literally use what I call inversion hacking to work with every negative thought and belief that's coming up right now because the purge is so real and I'm allowing the purge. I'm not having a bad backlog of these energies. I'm allowing it to happen now because it really is going to, it can run over 6 months. So you can either allow it and move through it in the next month or two over, this time, or you can continue to let the energies backlog. And this is what I call a backlog. If you look at an iPhone update, or I don't even know how Androids work, but if there's a new update that comes in, but you don't have enough space on your phone, you got to delete photos, you got to delete apps, and then the update can come in. It works the same on our body, same metaphor. So if you're not making space inside of you for the higher frequencies to be sustained, the new update, they start to backlog. And pretty soon you're going to have 50 updates to do. And that's a lot of clearing. And sometimes it becomes so much that you just have this big ass tower moment and everything just falls to the ground. And you're like, well, that was easy. I just did it all at one time. So these are just ways that it can play out. It's just the way it is. So allow this new moon and the solstice energy to really be helpful to you. But again, remember, the solstice energies are always the most potent and impactful energies according to the guides over any other thing that the humans put extra belief into. These are the ones, right? So this is the rebirth energy. This is the energy that really allows us to have the highest potential to really step into who it is we want to be, and really decide and choose for ourselves and start to rebuild our structure. And we're constantly being able to do this, right? We constantly go through these cycles that allow it. But now we're not just going through this cycle. Humanity is going through this cycle. And while the humanity cycle is going to take a little bit longer because it has such a collective energy, there's got to be a certain level of congruence that's happening. Again, we will in a few years look back at this and go, we got to witness the greatest shift in human existence, that has ever been. And remembering when you're in it, you don't always see that. But I promise you that down the road, we're going to look back and see that we got to witness one of the most beautiful things ever existed. And so the process of getting there is the challenging part. And so be easy on yourself. Do the things that are supportive to you and be the contribution to that collective. Again, what you do, what you say, how you be behind closed doors when no one's looking is your greatest contribution to the collective. You don't need someone to keep you accountable. Keep yourself accountable. This is self-trust. You build self-trust when you do what you say you're going to do when nobody's watching. When you do that for yourself. That is I have been healing self-trust and abandonment for so long. And that is one of the themes that has run through every channeling, every session I've ever done, is what you do behind closed doors, how you keep your word to yourself, how you keep yourself accountable to the changes that you want to be as you rebuild your structuring. Those, when nobody's looking, that is your greatest contribution to yourself and to the collective. So really keep that in mind. It isn't about what other people think or see or how they judge or what they consider great or bad or whatever. None of that freaking matters. It's all a projection, a mirror of your own internal judgment anyway. So these energies of this week are going to be intense. They've already been intense the past couple of days. That's why I did a written update. But this intensity is also going to be a really awesome thing because I really feel it's going to catapult and push and really start to where we start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, where we start to sprout out of the earth and start to see some of that light and start to see the way forward a little bit, right? Just a little bit at a time. I feel like this is going to be a shift for a lot of people. And for me on a human level, I really hope it's my shift too, because I'm waiting for it. Like I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it. And so I wanted to come on here and really share and talk about this because I think that it's really important for us to kind of understand and have a concept. I can't really see my comments today. Hey, Tanya. Are you guys talking about the light? Oh, okay. What do we got over here? How do we find our guides? Listen, your guides are always around you, 100% of the time. You have a core, family of guides, um, who are with you from birth, and you'll have guides that come in and out to be of assistance. But your core guides are always aspects of you in another time space reality. And any guide you work with or channel or communicate with, the only reason why you can have a connection with them in that way is because you are them or were them or had some type of connection with them. That's what my guides say. And so you can just start communicating with your guides by asking questions and listening for the answers. We give them human names. They don't necessarily have names. Sometimes they have names that they will give you, but it's just to help you. So don't get stuck up on what they look like, what their name is, if they're male or female. You don't need to do all that. It's fun to know, or if they want to share that with you, but you need to get in tune with a feeling. So I have ways when I teach spiritual development, and I might even have some free videos on YouTube, if you go over there, that really help you to start to begin to work with your guides. And I always like to do isolation methods where you do one at a time. You really tune into your senses, because here's the thing: you don't need to sit down in quiet in meditation. In the beginning, that's maybe how you're going to have to do it. But now I can sense who's communicating with me, what they're trying to convey to me at some level. Um, just by being in tune with my senses, right? Being in tune and reading the energy. And so, again, this is why I am always teaching in all my courses and everything that I do, reading your body, reading energy. It is so important, because you can be driving down the road, you can be walking your dog, you can be talking to your kids, and you can be in tune with what's happening through a sense, through a smell, through a feeling. And you'll know, oh, I know what this means. I know who's here. I know what they're saying. And so it's about working with that energy, but they're always around you. So you can do it through auto writing, meditation. Ask a question. What's the first thing you hear? Doesn't matter if it's your higher self or your guides. They're all working in a congruently anyway. So what's the first thing you hear? Remember, the quiet, subtle first thing you hear is the largest part of you. The loud, obsessive, obnoxious things you hear is the smallest part of you. And that is made up of your aspects of self, your fragments. And your fragments are your inner children and your ego personalities. Those are actually, they work together. If you integrate an inner child, you're going to integrate a protector personality of the ego at the same time. They go together. So remember, like the small yappy dogs, they're yappy for a reason. They don't feel like they're seen, so they got to be loud. It's the same thing with your wounded aspects. They're loud because they don't feel seen. They don't feel heard. Your soul is large. It knows. It doesn't need to yell. It's just going to be subtle and quiet. You just got to be the one who tunes in and listens. It's always going to come first. The loud shit's going to come after. Every time. Every time. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the current energies that we're feeling? Again, I talked about this a little bit. This is a great time to do cleanses, parasite cleanses. It's a good time to do detoxes. It's a good time to just do very clean eating. I know it's holidays and people like to poison themselves with sugar at this time of year. Um, to each their own, no shame no shame, but this is a good time to not do that. It's a good time to just be clean. You know, you can do hot cold therapy. I do sauna and then go into the cold shower. If I can't do that, then I try to do other things, breath work, uh, kundalini yoga, whatever you feel that really opens up your pathways in your body energetically and allows things to flow freely, that allows you to feel grounded into your body. Those are the things you need to do. There's no right or wrong way to do these. So you got to tune into that. What makes you feel good? So how do when you eat, what way do you feel best when you eat? And start eliminating things that don't feel good. Really start drinking more lemon water or lime water, adding in maybe some Himalayan salt, doing detox baths. You can put a little bit of borax. You can do magnesium and uh, baking soda. Sorry, I had totally lost it. Um, right now, I've even upped my magnesium intake because we're processing so much energy. Magnesium really helps us to process the energies. So magnesium and potassium. So really, just you got to be in tune with you and what works for you. And if you don't know, this is when trial and error is the best thing to do. Give yourself a week doing something, and if you don't notice if you notice a shift, great, keep going with it. If you don't, then try something different. You'll get there. You'll figure it out. Okay. Whew. If you are interested in being a YouTube membership, it's only $9.99. You can go to my. Is it on my website? I don't know if it's on my website. I'll drop a link. I don't know if I can. Anyway, it'll if you're on YouTube, it's in the description. I will drop a link afterwards on Facebook. If you're on TikTok, it is in my bio. It's linked in there. It's $10 a month. There is a transmission that will completely help reset your body and really get you in tune to hold the higher frequencies and really be a support to you. It's so potent. The guides ask you not do it more than once a week. And so that's available to you. Can your guides be ancestors that are deceased? That's a great question. So they can be. It's a this and that. It's a yes and no. So oh, the frequencies are beautiful. I can always see the frequencies in the clouds. Ancestors can guide you. Yes. Um, are they necessarily a guide? Not always. So not everybody is going to have an ancestor as a permanent guide. And here's why: because your guides that are with you, the core guides, right? This is why I said guides can come in and like temporarily, like totem animals, right? Or they come in temporarily and go out. Your core guides that you have from birth are aspects of you and other time-space realities. So your ancestors, or the people that have passed away or transitioned, I should say, in this life, they are guides, but in a different way, right? So, and I feel like some of those guides are almost harder to be or more challenging to be in tune with because you have more attachment to them, right? You have a bloodline running of the same wounds. They were a part of the pattern of those woundings, and so sometimes it's more challenging to have communication with them. Even for myself, right? I can do mediumship for anyone very easily, but I sometimes often struggle to have communication with my own ancestors because I have attachment to them. And attachments create blocks, right? It's like a door. So, yes and no. They can guide you, but they're not usually a core guide. What they can be is a gatekeeper. Sometimes they can be what's called a gatekeeper, and everybody has a gatekeeper. We usually have two. We have a gatekeeper for more of a mediumship sense, right? Guides people who have passed away, um, aspects of you that are and have been human, and then you have a galactic angelic gatekeeper who, and both of those translate. So they translate for the other beings. So I have my gatekeeper's name is Raldulfo. I can never say it right. And he's the one who communicates he's my translator for the galactics and for the angelics. Do you need to know your names of your translators? No. Do you need to know that you have translators? Not really. Not unless you're really going to do this work and teach it and be a facilitator of it. But sometimes I will hear my dad, and my dad will be speaking as the spokesperson for my collective of guides. It's going to be whoever I'm most in tune with. And sometimes I can just go right, I can actually hear and discern the guides, but everyone always works as a collective. And the gatekeeper is usually the one who kind of keeps everybody together and helps with the communication. But that doesn't mean other guides can't be the leader and come in. So, like when I'm channeling and or I'm doing the language of light, and you hear me go through a voice change where like my frequency changes, my tone changes, that's because in that collective, one energy, different frequency stepped forward and became the spokesperson, if you will. So it's always more complicated. Quantum is all inclusive, so it's not a linear concept. It's everything, and so it makes it kind of hard to understand on a logical level. And even in channeled sessions or private mentorship sessions, people go, well, you just said the other thing. I've said, yeah, it's never one, it's always both. It's always both, always. uh, Kelly Hansen says, feeling angry today, healing, heading home to do purification process. Anger came up for me the last 2 days. So again, with the energy shift, we're purging. So it's going to bring shit up from the depths. And anger came up. And I almost let it get the best of me. I did a reel on it. I almost let it get the best of me. And I knew better. And I caught myself and I was like, oh, I'm letting this ruin my day. And so I hopped my butt in the car because that was the only place I could be by myself. And I drove and I sat with it. And then after I sat with it and let myself feel it, I listened to my guides and then I shared the message with you guys of what they said. And I've known for years that anger is grief's bodyguard, but I love the way they're going to say the same thing 100 ways until it lands, until it hits, until it really helps you to integrate and click in that energy. And so they gave it another way and it was really beautiful. So anger is not absence of love either. It's just choosing how to utilize that energy. And it's showing you, I can't remember exactly what the guide said, but it's something like anger is showing you where pain lives in your body, right? Heartache, grief, hurt. Anger is showing you where that lives. And using the purification process, that will help you even more. But anger is usually used as a shield to not feel. So when you get angry, you can ask yourself, where am I hurting? What is hurting? Where am I grieving? What heartache do I have? Whatever, however you want to say it. And then choose to feel it in its totality. Feel all of it so that you can start to heal it. And it will come up in layers. You're never going to feel everything all at once. But again, if you truly allow yourself to feel something, an emotion, it will only last 60 to 90 seconds. It will never last longer than that. And it might come up in layers where you have to do that several times throughout the day. But again, when you fully unlock your body and just let it wash over you, it can be a lot. Um, I often say this because I think it on a human level, I think it's hilarious. But I'll be driving down the road. I'm a big Tupac fan. Like I can rap me some Tupac. I know almost every word to most Tupac songs. I can be just in my flow, just jamming out to Tupac and just start busting out the tears. Like they'll just start pouring out of me. And it's because I'm in my heart singing, right? And doing that. And it'll allow an emotion to come in and I just have to let it wash over me. So I'll be rapping and just crying my eyes out. It's hilarious. I think it's hilarious when it happens every time. And I laugh at the same time. I'm crying, I'm laughing, I'm singing, and so it's not always like a bad emotion. Sometimes it's you opening your heart and finally allowing something in because again, it's always most intense. The energy, the emotion is always the most intense when it's at the door of your heart going, hello, are you going to open up and let me in? Are you going to accept me in this form, the angry bitch? Are you going to accept me in this form, the sad, depressed woman? How are you going to love me? Are you going to love me in all your forms? Why I have my tattoo, right? Probably everybody can see it, but it says I love you anyway, meaning I love you in all your forms. So love yourself angry. I saw an ex on the street after an intense therapy and had to get groceries. I heard you say that this morning in my mind. That's the benefits of being a private mentor student. I will permanently be in your head for a long time. My ex-husband tells me, I hear you in my head all the time. So funny. That's a good thing. Your other, what you allow yourself to program you is so important. Okay, what time is it? All right. I got to get off here. I have a private mentor session shortly and I need to prepare for that. But I just wanted to hop on. So I hope you guys, this helped you. If you want support of that energy transmission, just join the YouTube membership. I may throw it up for sale by itself. I don't know yet if I have time. But it is available in there. It's only $10 a month, $9.99. So it's there. There's other channelings. You have access to all the channeling wisdom content. If you feel called, it's there. It's available for you. Be graceful, be kind to yourself, be patient. Don't take things so personally. And then try to be present and enjoy your holidays. All right. I love you guys, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.